La for, hit for none. All the time. La for, hit for none. For Islam stand for peace. La for, hit for none. For Islam stand for peace.
Assalamu alaikum. Many thanks for joining us on NTA and for Real Talk Africa, where we are shooting a series of interesting programs from Africa, from Ghana, and precisely here in Accra, the capital city. We are bringing you special programs, and this very evening we are talking about the devotion of Ahmadi missionaries and other devotees to the service of Ahmadiyyat in Ghana, and for that matter in Africa and throughout the world actually. And so to help us do the discussion today, to my very extreme right, we do have Dr. Mahmoud Bat. He's a very devoted Ahmadi doctor, and he's been with the Asokore Hospital for many years. Doctor, thanks so very much for joining us for this special edition of Real Talk Africa. Next to Dr. Mahmoud Bat, we have Naib Amir III in the person of Al-Hajj Hafiz Jibril Saeed. Thank you very much for joining us for Real Talk Africa. And next to him, we have Naib Amir I in the person of Al-Hajj Mohammed Yusuf Yosin. Al-Hajj, you're welcome to Real Talk Africa. And next to him is Movi Mohammed bin Sali. He is Naib Amir II. Thank you very much, and welcome to Real Talk Africa on MTA, my august audience today. Well, to start off with the discussion, let me start with Naib Amir I, Movi Al-Hajj Yusuf Yosin. Well, I can imagine that when Ahmadiyyat was first introduced into Ghana, being a very new religion and our society being such that we are somehow conservative, how easy was it for our very early missionaries to accept Ahmadiyyat?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Well, when we go through the history of Ahmadiyyat in Ghana, we learn of the difficulties the early missionaries encountered when they landed here or they came to propagate the religion of Islam, and for that matter, the teachings of Islam Ahmadiyyat. You know, especially in the coast, Christianity had been so much entrenched, and their minds have been so much doctrinated on Christianity and are biased against Islam. So it wasn't easy for the early missionaries to make any penetration. But God being so kind, haven't given a dream to the one who dreamt about joining the Ahmadiyya community, and haven't enabled Chief Mahdi Apa to assemble his people with that zeal and enthusiasm to send for a missionary to guide them. They had Allah's guidance and help on their side. And so when the missionaries came and started their work, even though it was difficult, but with prayers, with dedication and devotion by those Muslims who called for their entry into the country, they were able to start making preaching exercises, and they had some good positive results. That is to say, those who were preached to, who were contacted, and then made to understand that this is the movement of the second coming of Jesus Christ, were astonished, and with this astonishment, they had the zeal to find out who that person is, and therefore they approached our missionaries, and they were able to, you know, and make understanding of the teachings of Ahmadiyyat.
Can you briefly tell us who the personalities were? For instance, the first missionaries to have come with the message of Ahmadiyyat.
Wow, yes, the first missionary to have landed on our coast was Al-Hajj Maulana Abdul Rahim Nayar. He was a companion of the Prophet Mirza alayhi salam, who was then in UK, or I understand was sent to the UK, and from there, when the contact was made for him to come to the Gold Coast, he came down through Sierra Leone, and from Sierra Leone, he came to Ghana, where he was received. He first purged his mission at Ekrofo. That was where the community was. Yeah. But then Ekrofo being you know, a rural area, there was no means of communication. And Sobon being the district headquarters, the elders felt that it was appropriate that they establish the headquarters of the mission in Sorpon.
Yes, sir, we'll get to those details later. And before I turn my attention to Naib too, let me just find out from you. Before these missionaries came, did they have any prior contact with Ghanaians, Gold Coasters for that matter?
No, they didn't have. What happened was that one man by name Abdurrahim Pedro, a Nigerian national, was in Sorpon, was a trader. He had contact with some of our literature like the Review of Religions. So he told them that he has read a literature of a missionary community called Ahmadiyya Muslim Mission, that is based in India, but then they are a missionary organization. He has their contact number, so if they wish to get in touch, he can help them. This is how the elders got in touch with Ahmadiyyat.
All right, so I'll turn my attention now to Naib Turmovi Mohammed bin Salih. And I know you were born at a time that Ahmadiyyat, in where you come from, the Upper West region of Ghana, there were a lot of persecutions against Ahmadis, and your dad was very instrumental. In fact, he led the crusade to send Ahmadiyya to that region. Can you tell us what you remember, or what people may have told you about the persecutions the early Muslims, early Ahmadi Muslims may have gone through at the time?
Turbulent days, but to start with, I want to place on record here that dedication of one's life to the service of Islam or to the service of religion for that matter is not a new phenomenon. It started right from the time of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where Muslims, with all the zeal, the enthusiasm, they sacrifice all what they have, their wealth, their own persons, the Holy Prophet sallallahu himself and his companions to serve Islam. It took a lot of dedication and commitment for one to leave his or her family and then migrate to an unknown world, from Arabia to a place like Abyssinia, the present-day Ethiopia. And it took a lot of dedication for one to be able to migrate from his Makkah to Medina, leaving everything behind. But then coming back to your main question about which I described as turbulent days, about the coming of Ahmadiyya to Ghana and its establishment in the Upper West region. Yes, it is true. It's quite a story, and that story is reminiscent of the experiences of the Holy Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and his companions during the early days. It's equally reminiscent of the experience of the promised Messiah and Mahdi ﷺ, in the very early days, and his own companions. It is also reminiscent of exactly what is going on right now in Pakistan, happening to Ahmadi Muslims in Pakistan right now. Having said this, what I would want to put on record is this, that by linking it to the Holy Prophet Muhammad's time and that of Hazrat Masih Maud and what is happening in Pakistan to say, I mean to say that the type of atrocities, the nature of persecutions that Ahmadis had to go through in a place like Wa in the Upper West region was such that, apart from these three instances I have mentioned, the Holy Prophet's time, Qadian, Promised Messiah's time, and happening in Pakistan today, you can't find some of those happenings happening anywhere in any part of the world again, unlike except what happened in Wa. It may interest you to know that at a point, Ahmadis were boycotted. The whole town boycotted them. You would not go out of your home. Therefore, you could stay in and then starve to death. Now, it took courage and dedication for one committed Ahmadi Muslim called Salim Karfa. He slipped out of home, went to the farm to fetch some foodstuff, yams and some other foodstuff to bring home for the few Ahmadis in the same compound who were marooned to be able to eat. Now, the non-Ahmadi Muslims caught wind of his slipping out to the farm. They sent a delegation out there who got hold of him, beat him up to pulp, tied him up, carried him downtown, sent him to the chief imam of the Muslims, asking permission from the chief imam of the Muslims to virtually slaughter him in public. Now, the chief imam felt that this was over and above him. He rather advised them to send him to the paramount chief of the town. The paramount chief of the town also refused to have anything to do with it, and rather advised them to go to see the British Colonial Administration District Commissioner. When they went to the district commissioner, it was he who freed him and made it known to everybody that he had the right to go out and look for food to eat, and nobody should interfere with whatever is happening. Now, having said it, let me chip in here. what dedication of life and the fruits of dedication of life can bring to people. Muslims have enjoyed all whatever glory and whatever it is that we have in the world because of the dedication of the Prophet and his companions, and because of the dedication of life and commitment of Hazrat Masih Maud and his companions. It is that same delegation, that same zeal, that same enthusiasm with which Ahmadi Muslims in Ghana embraced Ahmadiyyat, and out of it they took the light of Ahmadiyyat to the northern part of Ghana, and there was that kind of dedication portraying the true teachings of Islam. They were able to stabilize the otherwise extremist Muslim, non-Ahmadi Muslim extremist nature. And because of that infiltration, education was brought into the system. True meaning of Islam, true interpretation of Islam was sold out to the people, and gradually, even though they did not accept us at the beginning, they made enemies of us, but within them, they started copying what each and everything that they were taught through Ahmadiyyat. And the final result of it is that if you think of the northern part of Ghana, compare it to the northern part of Nigeria, they are about one and the same people. But it was because of the stabilization that Ahmadiyyat brought to the northern part of Ghana that the true teachings of Islam came to light. Otherwise, what we could have had in the northern part of Ghana could have been just like that of northern Nigeria, where we have Boko Harams and all sorts of people. The people of Ghana, for instance, therefore, owe Ahmadiyyat a lot, because it was through Ahmadiyyat that the true teachings of Islam was brought to bear on the people of Ghana. And with the true teaching of Islam bearing on the people of Ghana, those extremist elements were suppressed. Exactly. And until now, it remains suppressed.
All right, we'll come back to that point later. But I think this is the appropriate time to bring in Alhaj Movi Yusuf, Alhaj Hafiz Jibril Said here. Hafiz, I know you studied in Pakistan for a very long time, and your parents dedicated you to the service of Ahmadiyyat. You studied in Pakistan. So Pakistan, vis-a-vis the situation in Ghana, let's talk about that, the persecution that persists in Pakistan.
The story of persecution of Ahmadis in Pakistan is a long and sad one. We saw it at first hand. We didn't read from books. We were there when the whole thing started. Okay, it had been there for long, but at least the latest one, which started in 1973-74, we were there and we watched it. We saw it and we agonized about what was happening in the country. For somebody from Ghana, you know, it looks very strange when you hear some of the stories, how people will kill just because they differ with you in some concepts or the interpretation of the Holy Quran. You know, here, because we have freedom of religion, you know, freedom of conscience, we cannot even believe that people will be so wicked, you know, to kill somebody just because you disagree with him in beliefs. You see, but in Pakistan, it happened.
So, having lived in Ghana, where there's relative peace and relative freedom of religion, did you feel like coming back?
Of course. Of course, but you know, one thing you must remember is that as a missionary who has devoted his life, it was not my choice to come to Ghana. You know, what is in my heart is a different thing. But when the Khalifa decided that I should come back to Ghana, it's Alhamdulillah. If he had decided that I should stay in Chiniot, that's the hotbed of anti-Ahmadiyya activities, I would have stayed there. That is the meaning of dedication, you see. And even in Ghana, as you are aware, I stayed there for only a few years, about 3 years, and I was posted to those islands to go and spread Islam there. And that is dedication, because whatever you are told to do, you go ahead and do it. So the story in Pakistan, you see, I had the privilege of and the blessing of leading people in the Taraweeh prayers during the Ramadan as Hafiz. So I can mention a few places in Pakistan where I led prayers. And sadly, some of the people that I stayed with during the Ramadan, they were martyred in this anti-Ahmadi riots in Pakistan. There was one man, Said Saab, may Allah bless his soul, in a place called Gujranwala. They killed him martyred him in a very, you know, I can't describe it, you see. And when you look back, you think about those days, how they killed Ahmadis, they murdered Ahmadis in Gujranwala, in Faisalabad, in all those places, you just say that, well, the world is a difficult place.
Exactly. So I think this is the right point for me to bring in our audience, because we do have a lot of young missionaries in here. Maybe you have a different opinion, or maybe you agree. We have missionaries in here who would want to add a word or two to what has been said so far. Anyone? Yes, Osofo.
Yeah, to speak to the issue raised will be very, very difficult, because one might not have the benefit of living the life in Pakistan. Yeah. But back to Ghana and talking about dedication of life, one can say that when you talk about dedication of life, we are first talking about believing in a cause. And having believed in a cause, then it follows that one should be able to propagate that belief that he has in that cause. When one is unable to do that, then in effect he is living a cowardly life, because to believe in something and hiding it and not portraying it to the outside world means that you first don't even have to believe in it. So as Ahmadi and missionaries are that, we came to believe in the Mahdi alayhi salatu wassalam. And what he represented was that he discovered it through Islam. Allah chose him to be the Mahdi, for which reason he needed ambassadors. He needed people who will go out there and preach the true teachings of Islam. So as companions, as I may call ourselves, we believe in him and we went out there. Challenges, they were and they may be, but to feel or to get to the halawat al-iman, as I call it, the sweetness of faith, when one is able to overcome those challenges, it's then that he feels in his heart that indeed he has tasted the halawa, the sweetness of it.
We had so much time to go on and on, but I'm afraid we have to move on. And please hand it over to Ustaz. And Ustaz, I'll put a very direct question to you. You know, maybe you had the opportunity to become a banker, you could work elsewhere. Why did you choose to become a missionary?
Truly, I had that opportunity, glorious opportunity for that matter. I used to be a businessman where I had a lot of money, and the call dawned on me that I should forgo all those things and then serve Islam Ahmadiyya. At that time, I was trading from Togo to Ghana, and I was purchasing items and selling, and you will feel what that meant. I was accruing a lot of money, but the call came when I had finished Isha prayers and I was lying in the mosque, and then I heard the voice calling me. So I persistently thought it wasn't a nice call, so I just skipped over it. The next time after Fajr prayers, I was lying down, the same thing came on me. Until the third time, I realized I had to seek the missionary to voice out what is happening. I consulted the then missionary, and then he said, then go and write and bring so that we will forward it. It was a divine call. When I submitted my particulars to him, on that eve day to the submission of my particulars, his wife also delivered. So he left my letter at the mission house. Somebody who was a preacher was going to see Naib Amir Trey. At that time, he was the acting missionary at the Central Region. So he found my letter at the wall of the mission house. He said, but this is Naib Amir's letter, the acting missionary's letter. What is it lying there for? And that time, the missionaries were enrolled 3 years in succession. So if that time had passed, I wouldn't have had that opportunity again, because there was an age limit to that effect also. It was sent, and those who were to enroll has been shortlisted. So
let's fast forward to the final decision.
The final decision was that I was enrolled.
Yes.
But talking to what Movi was saying, that it's a comfort being a missionary in Ghana. Yeah. When I was first posted to the Afam Plains, island of the eastern region of Ghana, I happened to lead one Juma Salat, and the buildings there were all summer-hearted buildings. And I was leading Juma Salat when the house behind my house was caught fire. And from there, you could see that the fire was jumping to the next houses. Yeah. And it was coming to my house. I was delivering sermon. Imagine how it was. And the emotion was too much. You could not have means of transport. There was not even motorbike nor bicycle. I had to walk, and once MP of the area met me on foot to say my Juma prayers at a village. And he said, "Who are you?" I said, "I'm a missionary." A missionary working for what? I said, "I'm going to lead my people in Salat." He said, at this modern Ghana, working to see your people, what kind of missionary? So in the nutshell...
You are as comfortable as Dr. may perceive you to be.
No.
All right, so please, let's try and keep our answers as snappy as possible. Can we have another Ustaz, another missionary? Yes, but first of all, I would like to ask you a question, yeah? And it is this. Having become a missionary, has that changed your life in any way at all? Personally?
I would say yes. Because casting my eyes back, some of those people I started life with, I will not say I'm far better off than them in terms of material world, but the knowledge I've acquired, if not being a missionary, I don't believe I would have had this opportunity to get this knowledge. That's number one. Two, things that people are yearning for, which to me does not help us. I'm not running after it, but they are running after it, which at the end of the day, they will not benefit from it. And back to the initial question, or what Dr. Saab said, to be comfortable, the Holy Prophet Muhammad said, Al-Gina Gina Nafs. Real richness is the comfort of the heart. So being comfortable here or there, I've not been in Pakistan before, and I've not been a missionary there before, but I cannot say this or that. But for me, having the freedom to go to any place and preach, do the work, or what I've devoted my life to do, I'm able to do it peacefully. And some of my colleagues or my senior brothers there who are not having this opportunity, I would say, in that sense, I would say Alhamdulillah. Right. But I don't know in which direction Dr. Saab is talking from. But I would say from that angle, I would say Alhamdulillah.
All right. So, yes, so any member of the panel can answer this. Yes.
I would want to come in here.
Yeah.
On this issue of it's better off being a missionary in Ghana than it is in Pakistan. He was saying that he hasn't got that experience of Pakistan. Yeah. I have had that experience. I've been there for 8 solid years. And I can comfortably say that it's neither here nor there. It's the life of a missionary in whichever part of the world that you find yourself. It's a matter of blow cold, blow hot. What do I mean by that? I was a missionary here in Ghana and first posted to the Upper West region. I was very, very comfortable there because I was the first Markazi missionary appointed to serve there. From where I felt I was very comfortable, I was transferred to Zimbabwe. Now, Zimbabwe had just become independent from colonial rule for just about some 2-3 years before I went there. And what happened was our missionary in Zambia, those who beat Ghana only recently, our missionary in Zambia, he got to know that there was a white millionaire farmer in Zimbabwe who could not accept the idea of being ruled by a black man. So when Zimbabwe became independent, he just picked his suitcase as well as his family. They just picked their suitcases and left their house, everything intact. And they advertised it for sale. Now our missionary informed Marcus that a house of this nature was being offered for sale. So Marcus sent money for that house to be bought immediately. And when that house was bought, there was a need to send a missionary there to establish the mission, and I was sent there. Now, compared to Wa, Zimbabwe was heaven. Imagine a missionary coming from Wa and going to stay in a house of a millionaire. And then after Zimbabwe, where was I? I was sent to Tamale. I'm talking of, hold on, I'm talking of being sent to a place where there was no water, where there was no electricity, where I was myself a carpenter constructing the mission house. I was a carpenter to construct my own beds, a mason to build my own mission houses, and so on and so forth, dilapidated. And water was so scarce that you dared not use water to bath and throw it away. Whatever you used for washing your utensils, for having your bath, for washing your clothes, you reserve that same water to put in the water closet to flush. You can imagine what the contrast is. And from there, I came to Tema.
Yeah, point well made. So it's been established that Ahmadi missionaries throughout the world, everywhere they find themselves, no matter where it is, have to go through some kind of problems or the other.
At times too, you enjoy it.
Thank you. Point well established. Well, the discussion is getting more interesting, but we have to take a break here. When we come back, we'll return to the audience and take more of your questions. We'll take a short break. You're still watching MTA, and we are live at this Real Talk Africa right here in Accra, Ghana. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Another milestone in the history of MTA. Another sign fulfilling the prophecy revealed to the promised Messiah alayhi salam. I shall cause thy message to reach the corners of the earth. By the sheer grace of Allah, MTA's broadcast can now be seen on your mobile phone anytime, anywhere in the world. Watch MTA International wherever you are with our new mobile streaming service. Simply visit www.mta.tv on your iPad, iPhone, BlackBerry or Android device and choose the stream of your choice.
Visit MTA International's official YouTube channel to catch up on past episodes of your favorite programs. If you want another chance to watch Hazrat Khalifatul Masih's Friday sermons, MTA International's special programs and documentaries, or our wide selection of nazms, simply visit www.youtube.com/MTAonline1. MTA International's official YouTube channel, delivering our unique content direct to the world.
Assalamu alaikum, welcome back and many thanks for staying with us on MTA. You're still watching Real Talk on MTA. Now, before we went for the break, we were taking questions from our audience in the studio. Now, we'll go back to you for the questions, but please make your questions as snappy as possible so that we can do all the things we have to do within time. We have just a little under 15 minutes more to go. So, next person to ask a question, and make it as brief as possible, please.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. I think I have learned from here, from Dr. Sahib, that you don't necessarily have to go through Jamia before you can dedicate your life. And that you can dedicate your life from whatever profession you have sprung from. I want to know if that is also so in Ghana, and from which point do you start from?
Well, yes, it is so in Ghana, and if I'm not mistaken, in one program you overheard Dr. Muhammad bin Ibrahim, who mentioned it clearly here that he has served as a medical doctor under the Nusrat Jahan scheme. And indeed, he was a medical officer in charge of one of our hospitals under the Nusrat Jahan scheme here in Ghana. And later, when the Ghana Medical Service, or Minister of Health, whatever you may call it, needed his service very urgently, they had to virtually request the Amir, a missionary in charge, to release him so that he could serve. And since it was service to the nation, it was national service, Amir, a missionary in charge, accepted their request and then released him. That's why he did not continue as a medical doctor within the Nusrat Jahan scheme. But then he is now serving in various ways as, serving the Nusrat Jahan medical system in various ways. Each and every one of us can dedicate his life in his own various ways. There are dedication, maybe you come to think of it in terms of the permanent dedication alone. We also have temporal dedication. For instance, sitting down here, you have dedicated the hours you have dedicated today for the service of Islam. That is why you are here. Each and every one of you here has dedicated that period of his life. It's a temporal dedication. There are times when some among you are people who are carpenters, and there is a masjid building program going on somewhere, some part of the country. Then you see yourself as a carpenter, and you think you can be of service to the Jamaat. Then you get in touch with the Tabligh Secretariat, Hafiz Sahib is here in charge, and then dedicate that period of your life to work for the Jamaat. It will come to a time when the Jamaat, for instance, have secondary schools, we have teacher training colleges, we have these hospitals. Sooner than later, the Jamaat will establish many other things, and there a lot of people will be required. For instance, we sit down here, you see Dr. Mahmoud Bhatt. He's come all the way from India to serve me and you and our people. Then the question arises, what of you and me? If he has left his country where they are not self-sufficient in medical service and yet dedicate his life to come to serve us, what of you? What of me? Those of us in medical colleges, how many of us are prepared to do away with materialism, not to think of the lucrative part of our lives, and dedicate ourselves to the service of the Nusrat Jahan scheme, so that you could also be of help. You could be serving humanity in that capacity. So each and every Ahmadi Muslim, in whatever capacity you find yourself, can dedicate your life to the service of Islam. It is for you to dedicate your life. Present yourself to Khalifatul Masih, Ayyadahullah Ta'ala bin Nasrul Aziz, and tell him, my master, I've dedicated my life. He will tell you what to do with your life, with the life that you have dedicated in the service of Ahmadiyyat, the true Islam. So yes, everybody can dedicate his life.
Yes, we'll take a question from, oh well, before we come back.
My direct question. In Quran, God used to address his servants, for all the mankind, say, oh, you mankind, I mean, he addressing all the nation. Sometimes he used to address a group of people. So, oh, you who believers. Sometimes he used to address individuals. As he said in Quran, he said, is Allah not sufficient for his servants at the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Now here also he'll be saying, or there's another saying, that I will give a large part of Islam. This is related to which people? Thank you. Related to which people? I will give a large part of Islam. It was said to who?
This was a revelation
Yes.
to the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad of Qadian, that Allah had promised him and inspired him that the duty he has given him, the cause he has given him, the mission that he has asked him to come and establish is so dear to him that he will ensure that people, as we said before, who are religiously inclined, who have that inclination to go to their Creator, will be guided so that they come in numbers to accept him as a reformer of theirs. So this was a revelation to the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam, that I shall give you a large part of Islam. And lo and behold, even taking the instance here in Ghana, when we go for Tabligh in the northern parts of the country, people come in their numbers. Hafiz will testify to that. A chief, when he is convinced of the veracity of Islam, Ahmadiyyat, and the truth of Prophet Islam, says, I have accepted Ahmadiyyat and I'm coming in mass with all my followers, who sometimes number in 1,000 or even beyond that. So it has been fulfilled, literally, here in Ghana.
So at this juncture, we'll take one more question, then we'll return to the panel for to get up and close and personal with them. Then we can return again for some more questions before we round up. Yes, please.
Mine is not a question, but it's a short history of Accra here, where we are here.
Please make it very snappy.
Very, very short. I am 48 years in Accra now. I came here in 1964. In 1964, here, it was all forest. This is the only building we have here. When you come here, you don't go beyond this building because it's just thick forest. Marshy. waterlogged. When you come here, you see blocks. You have to go back here. And those days, there were only one bus, municipal transport, the 6A. When you are coming for Accra, it's only that bus you can take to Accra here, this mission house here. When you miss that, forget it. You get off at Labadi Road and then you walk down here. And then now look, 48 years later, you see all these things. So it's a blessing for Ahmadiyya. But you have to.
And obviously, this wasn't put up in one day. It took
dedication.
It took service from Ahmadis.
From the Ahmadis. Yeah.
Exactly.
So Ahmadiyya, God has blessed us. But we have to be disciplined and follow the rules of Ahmadiyya.
Okay, so we'll return to our panel, and these are our leaders here in Ghana, Ahmadi leaders here in Ghana. But I would like to find out from them how they became missionaries. And I'll start with Nabamir too. How did you become a missionary?
It's a long story that can be very short, but emotional somehow too. My father, Al-Hajj Saleh Mumin of blessed memory, accepted Ahmadiyyat somewhere in 1931. And down south in Adansi district. After accepting Ahmadiyyat, since he was a scholar, he felt there was the urgent need for him to disseminate the message of Ahmadiyyat to his tribesmen. So he therefore tried going back to Wa. Amidst persecutions, he finally got hold his foot in Wa and then stayed. Somewhere around 1947, he decided to go to Mecca on pilgrimage. Prior to his departure for Mecca, he married my mother. A few weeks, in fact, running into 2 or 3 months thereafter, after marrying my mother, and for your information, my mother belonged to a very staunch non-Ahmadi family, a staunch non-Ahmadi family that was up in arms against Ahmadiyyat. They declared Ahmadis kafirs, and my father as a kafir, God forbid. My grandfather, my mother's father for that matter, however, had a soft corner for my father. And when my father requested him permission to marry my mother, he easily accepted it without informing his junior brothers. After marrying my mother, my father decided to go on Hajj together with 6 other Ahmadis from Wa. They left for Accra to prepare here to get their passports and other travel documents to proceed. At that time, they used to go on Mecca by traveling on vehicles, rickety vehicles, from country to country, from city to city, until you get to Sudan, then you get to Port Sudan, and cross by boat to the Hejaz, and to go to Mecca to perform Hajj. When my father was about ready to leave with the Ghanaian delegation for Hajj, a message came from his brothers from Wa telling him that, no, you just married this lady a few months ago. How do you leave such a lady behind and proceed on such a tedious journey? And we don't even know whether you come back or you will not come back. So you stay back. We bring down your wife to you. We'll bring in the extra expenses also involved. We'll buy the ticket and everything, and then please take her along with you on the pilgrimage. So when my mother was brought down to Accra, the Ghanaian delegation had already left, and it was left with my father and his other 6 companions only. But whatever the case, they tried to get my mother's passport and other travel documents, and they also set off. When they got to Sudan and got to Port Sudan, the last boat, which was to carry pilgrims across to Saudi, had left and was not to come again until the Hajj was over. This meant that they could not perform Hajj that year. They had to stay after the Hajj. They crossed over to Saudi Arabia and into Mecca, and in the course of time, in the course of their stay there, they performed the Hajj. That meant a full year to be spent there again. And after performing the Hajj, they decided to, and in the course of all this go and come, your humble servant Muhammad bin Salih was born. And when I was born, then my father gave me the name Muhammad. He gave me the name Nur Muhammad, and he dedicated my life to the service of Islam there and then. They returned home.
Just on a light note, are you Al-Hajj?
I am not an Al-Hajj because I did not, on my own, consciously perform pilgrimage. though I was born in Mecca, that does not necessarily make me an Hajj, because I have not consciously performed the pilgrimage. But however, going with my story, after performing the pilgrimage, they came back home and got back to work when I was just about 6 months old. When they got home, it was then that the brothers of my grandfather, my mother's father, they caught wind of the fact that they were back. And the fact that, according to them, my grandfather smuggled my mother to my father and he smuggled him out to Makkah. Now that they are aware, they came in full force and they snatched my mother away when I was just 6 months old. Then my father said, okay, you can take your daughter, but my son, I will not give him to you. I've given him the name Muhammad and I've dedicated him his life to serve Islam. Then 10 years into my life, my father passed away. When my father died and I was okay in school, anytime I tried to go to secondary school, my uncle said, no, don't go. Why? He said, wait. I was not disobedient. I listened to them. It continued until Maulana Mubarak Ahmad Sahib, who was Wakil Tafsir at that time, he came to Ghana, and following the heels of his coming, the missionary training college at Solpon was open. Then my uncles called me and they said, Muhammad, the secondary school, the college you have been earning to go has now been opened. It is at Solpon, so go. Your father said you had to become a missionary. You are therefore to attend the missionary training college and become a missionary. That's how I went to the missionary training college.
So at
and
the time,
luckily enough.
At the time?
Yeah.
What was going through your mind? Did you really want to go to secular secondary school?
Nothing really went through my mind because I was torn between too many things. For your good information, I became a member of a youth wing of a political party of Kwame Nkrumah known as the Ghana Young Pioneer Movement. And Kwame Nkrumah liked me so much that he wanted to send me to Russia. But all those things didn't mean anything to me because my uncle told me that I should be patient and wait. And simply because they told me to be patient and wait, I waited. I didn't know why I waited anyway. And when they told me to go to the mission training college to train to be a missionary, I really didn't know what it meant by being a missionary. But I went. Luckily for me, at the end of the day, it was agreed that the top two and the final exam will be sent to Pakistan to continue their studies. God being so good, I topped the class. And I found my way into Pakistan in 1978, December. Admitted to the Jamia, 1969, December. I went to Pakistan and continued study there for 8 years and returned in 1978 and have since been a missionary. That's how I became a missionary.
And today here you are.
Yes.
Well, let me turn my attention to Naib 1. Were you born an Ahmadi missionary? Sorry, an Ahmadi in the first place?
No, I wasn't born a Muslim even. I was a Christian, a Catholic for that matter, who was baptized and Christian Peter Jawson. Yes. Well, at the age of 16, I was attracted to the public preaching of preachers at Kajetia in Kumasi. So I used to attend the Catholic church at Bimpe Hill, the cathedral. So after the church service, I'll go down to Kajetia, listen to the discourses, preaching of the preachers, take notes, and I had about 3, notebooks full of quotation. Whenever I compared to the writings of the Bible that I had, it was the same. So I was convinced of the truthfulness of Islam and Ahmadiyyat, and I accepted to become a Muslim, an Ahmadi. I started learning the Yasan al-Quran. That was in 1961, when we had Maulana Abdul Malik Khan as the regional missionary for Ashanti region. Well, he announced on one occasion during the, I think, the birth of Muslim Maud Day, that they intend setting up a school to teach the youth, to educate themselves as missionaries for the Jamaat. So I was enthused to dedicate myself to become a missionary. I put in an application. Unfortunately, I didn't hear any response. And the only thing I heard was that they said there is going to be a regional conference of Ashanti region at Techiman, and there the selection would take place. I didn't have the means, so I couldn't go. Then I got the next information that they are going to make the selection. Those who were selected at the conference, they have to report at the mission house, Kumasi, for the necessary procedures. I went and I approached the missionary. I said that I have also written an application. Unfortunately, I didn't get any acknowledgement. I didn't hear of the conference at Techiman. So what do I do? He said, okay, you stand one side. So he put me one side. Those who were enrolled or enlisted at Techiman were given, some books and exercise books for the start of the school. When he had finished them, he said, okay, you also come. You also take your set. And so I was joined to the class of missionaries. We were taught for about 2 years, appointed circuit missionary for Abura circuit. I was there when the missionary was about to go. I mean, Maulana Abdul Malik. I was, if I should say, I was a good boy in his books. Even while we were studying, I was his house boy, and I served well. So that might have impressed him. And luckily also, as my brother said, there was a rule that the first 4 will be sponsored to go to Pakistan for further studies. Luckily, I was among the first 4. So myself and Maulana Abdul Wahid Dawood, were chosen to go to Pakistan with the missionary whose tenure of office was over and was leaving. So went with him in 64. We were enrolled in Jamia in 65. We studied for 7, 8 years. And we came back in 1972 to start our full missionary work in the central region. So this is how I became a missionary.
My turn.
Yes, it's your turn now. Because having to memorize the whole of the Holy Quran, surely that must have taken some dedication and determination. How did you do that?
Yes, my story is not very long one. You see, my father was a dedicated person. He was a devotee. In fact, he was the first Ghanaian missionary to serve outside Ghana. And my father was the first Ahmadi Muslim missionary to Gambia. Maulana Sharif Sahib came to take over from my father in Gambia. So devoting or devotee is in our genes, is in our, you see. Then when my father came back, after some time, he was also sent to Liberia, also as a missionary. I didn't see any of those days anyway, because I was too young to, I didn't see, I just heard the stories. So I think the Ghana Jamaat decided that they should have a Hafiz in Ghana. So they took the decision in Solpon to look for a boy who is not too troublesome to send to Pakistan to go and become a Hafiz. So they went through Ahmadiyya school. At that time I was a student in Form 3 in Solpon. And one day I was called by my father. I was in my village. Incidentally, my grandfather was among the first to accept Ahmadiyyat in Ghana. He was a chief of Equity. And my father was the eldest son. So my father and my grandfather, they accepted Ahmadiyya at the same time. So my father was also a scholar. He knew Arabic very well. And he taught many of our senior missionaries, including you, of course. Yes. Yes. So when my father called me that I should come to Solpon, I was afraid. I said, have I misbehaved? Why this type of someone is a bit disturbing. When I went, my father told me that Amir Ayu Kalim and the Ghana Mission have decided that they want to send you to Pakistan to become Hafiz, first one in Ghana. So, Fanzul Maza Tara, what do you say? I said nothing because I didn't know what to say. I just didn't say nothing. That time I had passed my secondary school, Form 3, to go to Axim Secondary School. And schoolboys, secondary school, that's where all your mind and attention is. So I didn't know what to do. Pakistan, far away place, I don't know what I'm going to meet there. But secondary school is just here. I will be a secondary school boy. Honestly, my heart was not there because I didn't know what Hafiz meant. See? Then my father said, I think if you go to Pakistan, it's good for you, it's good for family, it's good for Ghana. I said, yes, sir, I accept. I abandoned my secondary school. Now, after that, myself, Movi Saab, and Movi Ibrahim Yakub, the one who is in Trinidad, we went for medical tests. When we came back, I had failed the medical test. They said I was too light, too small, and the weather there was too harsh. The doctor was an Indian doctor, Dr. Ramadan, and he knew the harsh condition there, you know, terrible cold and terrible heat. So he thought I wouldn't survive, you see. So my going to Pakistan was cancelled. So they were processing for Maulvi Sahab and then Maulvi Ibrahim Yaqub. Then my father went to Ekweti, my hometown, and then he came back to Sopon where he was teaching. And then he came and to tell the Amir Ayyub Kalim that my son will go to Pakistan. Amir Ayyub Kalim said, what are you saying? They have failed him. He said, yes, Allah has told me that he will go. My father was saying tahajjud. Then he according to me, received a very clear voice, sweet voice. Inna lil muttaqina mafazan. Surely there is success for the righteous. So that was the message to my father. Apparently my father was praying about my going to Pakistan. So he received this message. So when he received this message, he came to Sopon and told Amir that my son will go to Pakistan. You see? So it's funny, you know, it's to cut the whole story short. My father went and bought, you know, this blue brand margarine, one big one. And then, you know, he said that every morning I should eat it to get some weight. Within 2-3 weeks, after 1 month, they said I should go for a test again. I went and they said there's nothing wrong with this boy. Nothing wrong with him. He can go. It was amazing. You know, that's the working of Allah. Allah had assured my father that his going would be possible, you know. So finally, when they started the process, after they passed my medical distance, I even got my passport earlier than them, my senior brothers. I got my passport earlier. So, don't tell my story. So around 13 years, 14 years, you know, we went together. And actually the weather was very, very harsh. It is there that my father wrote me and to explain everything to me that your going to Pakistan was ordained by Allah. You know, so be careful. Whatever difficulty you meet there, you must overcome it and finish your course. You know, my first 2 years was spent really not doing much memorization. You know, we used to go on holidays. When I come back, I might have forgotten what I memorized on this. It was rather in my third year that I started seriously. Then I did it very fast. My first 2 years was just actually wasted. After that, I came to Ghana for almost 8 months, 9 months. And Ghanaians got fed up with me. They were saying that, are you not going back? Go and finish your missionary course. And so by that time, I was independent enough to take my decision that I want to be a missionary or not. When I was going, I was just too young. And I didn't go to be a missionary. I went to be a Hafiz. So later on, to become a missionary was my decision. You see, that was my decision. So I decided that this is the path that my father took. He was the first Ghanaian missionary sent outside to Gambia and Liberia. And I wanted to be part of it, you see. And it was in our genes, as I said, in our blood already. So I went back to Pakistan. Alhamdulillah, I did the course. And the rest of the story is that I'm here. I'm a missionary.
Right, Doctor, so let's look at it this way. You have dedicated most of your life to the service of mankind, and you've been serving Ahmadiyya for a very long time. And having listened to the stories of our leaders here in Ghana and having young missionaries here, what advice would you give them? Because I'm sure we have had one or two who have given up along the way.
See, I don't think I'm in a position to give them any advice, but what I can tell from my experience is that dedicating life is really a hard decision, because there is a guarantee that Allah stands behind you, but you can't command Allah that you stand today behind me. He is always behind you, but he puts the person into trial also. You see, he also checks whether you are sincere in your dedication or not. And the more you dedicate sincerely, and the more you have conviction about Allah, definitely one day the result will come. You may have hardships in the beginning, but since I have seen my family also, my parents, they were dedicated. I have dedicated myself also. We also had hardships also, but at the end of the day, the solace, the peace within your heart tells you that yes, the God is with you. So don't get disheartened. And then the goal should be the pleasure of Allah, not the material world. Material worlds do come as blessings, but you can't measure them. It's Allah who decides how much you should be given. Maybe He gives you small, maybe He gives you full, but the pleasure of God should be the basic goal to achieve, and that's the only thing I can say.
Oh, okay. That we have just 3 minutes more, so let's make it snappy because we have to hear doctor's advice also.
Already we have talked a lot, and I don't want to prolong it. All the little that I will add to what my brother, senior colleagues here have said is that I want everybody here to remember that when we talk about devotion, your mind should not jump to missionaries. As if when they talk about Waqf Zindagi, devoting life, it's only missionaries. It is not like that at all. It is not like that in India, it is not like that in Pakistan. There are so many people who are not professional missionaries, but they have also dedicated their lives, their Waqf Zindagi. So many of them. Remember Hazrat Khalifat Masih Khamis, Ayadahullah Ta'ala bin Nasr Aziz, our present Khalifa. He came to Ghana as a devotee. He was not a professional missionary in the sense that you and I are. He was not. But see how Allah has elevated him to the position of Khilafat. You see? So nobody's mind should jump that when they say devotee, it's only missionaries. Anybody can devote his life, or her life, even women too. All you have to do is that present yourself to the Khalifa that I've done this, or this is my qualification. I want to serve Islam for the rest of my life, or part of my life. He mentioned about Waqf Arzi. You see, please, all of you here, you should know that the work we are doing in Ghana is so huge. Only the missionaries cannot do it. We convert so many people, but when somebody signs a bayat, becomes Ahmadi, that is only the first step. Don't think that, some of you think that the people have become Ahmadis and they are not praying like us. They are not. It is after they have signed the bayat that they take the step into Ahmadiyya. That is, you and I have to educate them and assimilate them into the Jamaat, Nizami Jamaat system. Some people have been praying a certain way for about 60 years, 70 years, old men, they're not Ahmadis. To make them disciplined like us, like Ahmadis, is not an easy job. And it is not for the few missionaries to do it. So what I want you to do, please, all of you should have some time. You know, maybe devote about 1 month, 2 weeks, every year, or maybe in 2 years, or whatever you can do, to go and stay there out there, the new converts, stay with them, and teach them, assimilate them into the system. And you yourself, you enjoy it. You enjoy it. You feel inside you that you have done something in the service of Islam. Even if you cannot devote your whole life, the 2 months or the 3 months that you spend, you know, you'll be so pleased with that you are doing something. So please take this message, yourself as well as others who are not here, that we want people to come in to help us assimilate the new converts. May Allah bless all of us.
Dr. Bhat, I'll give you the very last words. Briefly, please.
Prophet Messiah ﷺ says that his main function to come to this world was to unite mankind with the God. And in my view, the practical aspect of uniting with God is dedicating yourself, because you dedicate for Allah. And then the Khilafat is just a link, or is a via media. But you unite with the God, you commission yourself with the service to God, and that serves your pledge with Prophet Messiah when you take a bayat, that Prophet Messiah came to unite man with God, and you practically are doing it. So that should be the guiding principle, and that should give you the satisfaction that my dedication is not for any material gains. My dedication is to unite with God, and every day that experience should tell you whether, or tell us whether our union with God is strong or is becoming more and more stronger, or we are going nearer to God or not. And that should be the, you know, a touchstone also to test whether our dedication is true or not.
What can I say? Alhamdulillah, I have been informed, I've been educated, and to some extent, I have even been entertained, and I hope you have too. Thanks so much to everyone who made it to the studios, and to our panelists. Thanks so much for educating us so much. And to you out there, we wouldn't be here if you were not out there watching us. Remember to keep watching MTA, and you can visit our website at www.mta.tv. Thanks very much for watching Real Talk Africa, which came to you right here in Accra, Ghana. And we do hope that you will join us as we bring to you a series of other programs we do have for you. Don't go away. Keep watching MTA.
La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah. Yami bieni ho illallah, jese Allah illallah. Yami bieni ho illallah, jese Allah illallah. Yami bieni ho illallah, jese Allah illallah.